Meadows of the righteous, 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 meadows of the righteous.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen amma ba'd fa'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim as-salatu wa salamu alayka ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah as-salatu wa salamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurullah. Welcome to our third episode of the Meadows of the Righteous. In this episode we're going to go into the depths, and that's what it is, into the depths of observing patience and what it means to have patience. Now I'm going to start off with a verse of the Quran just to make you understand the point or make you understand the connection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is with the one who observes patience. Now, from Islamic teachings, we know that when a person, when he is tested, this test is so that the person becomes closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A test makes a person closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the one who really successful when he's faced by a tribulation is the one إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ, that when a tribulation comes in front of him, he says, قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. So whatever we have is from him and is going to return back to him. There is no loss. There is no loss because we have come from nothing and we're going to return. The person who carries this mindset that we are merely nothing, he is at true success, in opposed to a person who actually doesn't have this kind of mentality, because he will then suffer from anxiety, from depression and various other mental issues when he is faced by a tribulation. The strong person is the one who kind of refers everything back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if a person never ever faced any tribulation in life and his life was smooth throughout from the starting all the way to the end, and he's never suffered any worry, any depression, any anxiety, any kind of loss, he's always had a good life, is it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to bring him closer to him? So that's a question that I would leave and let you think about. Let's turn to a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, I find this narration very, very interesting. It's pretty long as well. The Prophet ﷺ said that there was a king in the past, and he had a magician in his empire, in his court. The magician turned old. He said to the king that I've become old, you need to send someone to me, I'll teach him all my magic. So the king elected a person. A youngster was sent towards the king. So every morning it became a habit of the boy that he would get up and go towards the magician. So on the very first day, on the way to meet the magician, he ended up meeting a monk. And when he met the monk, he was very awestruck, he was very attracted to the words of the monk. And it became a habit of that boy that every day when he would go and meet the magician, or go and sit in the company of the magician to learn lessons from the magician, he would go, prior to meeting the magician, he would sit with the monk. So he ended up getting late for his lessons with the magician, and once the magician ended up punishing him, beating him up. Now he said on the next occasion, he said to the monk that, look, this is what's happening. Every time I go to the magician, I end up being late and he ends up punishing me. The monk said to him that, look, whenever you get late, tell him that it was because of your family. It was because of your family. When you get back to your family and they ask you, why are you late? Tell him it's because of the monk. Now one day the boy was on the way to go and meet the magician, and on the way there was this large animal blocking the path of the pedestrians, the people that were walking past. So the boy realized that today he basically got this idea. The boy picked up the stone and said, Ya Allah Azza wa Jalla, if the teachings of the monk are more superior to you than the teachings of the magician, then get rid of this obstacle in the path of the pedestrians. And then he threw the stone on the beast or whatever this animal was that was blocking the way. And coincidentally, the animal moved off, or the obstacle was clear. And he told this to the monk, and the monk said to him, O son, today you are more superior than me. And now you have come to a point where you will begin to face trials. You see, when a person reaches a very close status in the law, in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when a person has a superior rank in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to test that person to see if he's really got it in him. Let's see how long he will last at this station, at this level, at this rank. So this monk realized this, and the monk said to the child that now you're going to start to see a lot of tests. You will see a lot of tests. You're going to face a lot of trials. And he said to him that if you ever fall into a problem, don't ever reveal my name. So that boy, he ended up, by the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was able to cure the sick, to heal the blind person. He had this kind of level of spirituality. He would make dua, Ya Allah, cure this person, and Allah will cure that person for him. He had this rank in Allah. Allah gave him that authority, that superiority, that he would make dua and he could cure the blind person, he could cure the sick. One of the ministers of the king, he realized that this boy who was learning from the king's magician is now able to cure the blind. That's how good he's gone in his magic, in his practice. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this ability. So that minister said to the child that, and he took loads of golds and treasures and different types of valuables to him and said, look, all this is yours. I want you to cure or heal my blindness. The child said, look, I don't cure no one. I do not possess the ability of healing anyone. That ability is in the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate curer, the ultimate healer. The child said, you put your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then I will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal you. So that minister, he put his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that man, that minister of the king, his eyesight was restored. Now, this minister, he was with the king once, and the king turned around and said to him that, I'm sure you are blind. Where did your eyesight come from? The minister said that, my Rabb, my Lord restored my eyesight. The king said that, do you have a Rabb other than me? He said, look, mine and your Rabb is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one and only. The king began to torture this minister. He began to torture this minister until he revealed the name of the boy who healed him. So the king summoned the boy, and he realized that this boy was the student of my magician. The king said to him that, oh boy, I have been told that you have mastered your magic such that you could restore eyesight and heal the sick. And this child replied that, no, I do not cure, rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate curer. The king then began to torture this boy until he was forced to reveal the name of the monk. The king then summoned the monk, and the king told the monk to turn away from his religion, his belief, his ideologies, and murdered the monk very brutally. The monk did not turn away from his religion. Then the boy was then forced to turn away from his religion, but he refused. The boy refused to turn away from his religion. The king knew that if this teachings or if this miracle of the boy gets out in public, then everyone will believe in the ultimate one and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet he wanted everyone under his control, under his authority. And when you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know that there is only one ultimate creator, and you submit to his authority and his laws and his divine laws. And this was a threat to this king in the past nation. The king said to his army, said to his men, that take this child to the peak of a mountain and hold him off the edge of the mountain and make him denounce his religion, denounce his God at the top of this mountain. So when the men took this child out towards the mountain, when they were climbing up this tall mountain, the boy made a dua and he said, Ya Allah Azza wa Jalla, save me from these people, from this musibat, from this problem in any way possible. Suddenly the mountain began to shake, such that everyone fell to the death other than this young boy. And then this boy, he got up and he went straight back to the king. And the king said that, what happened to my men? Where are my men? And he replied, Allah has saved me from them. The king then told his men to take him in the middle of the ocean, hang him off the ship, make him denounce his religion. So they done so. They went to the middle of the sea and they made him, or whilst they were about to get to the point where they forced him to denounce his religion, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, save me from these cruel people in any way, shape or form. And everyone drowned other than the boy. And he got back in the boat and he came back to the king. And he said to the king that, look, you will not be able to kill me until you do exactly as I say. If you really want to kill me, this is what you're going to have to do. And he told the king that you're going to have to basically tie me to a tree in a public place where everyone is watching. Tie me to a tree, take this arrow out of my pocket and say, Bismillahi Rabbil Ghulam. And then you're gonna shoot this fire this arrow on me, and only in that way you'll be able to kill me. And the king done so. He called everyone together and made a big scene, got everyone together, and he tied him to the tree and he took the arrow and he fired the arrow, and the boy sadly died. Did you realize what's just happened? This king tried to do everything to deter the child and his men and the people from believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to the point that he didn't even realize that by his anger was so much that he didn't even realize that he was only able to murder this boy through the name in believing, by bringing faith into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the moral of the story, and then that king, he went on a rage and he basically began to kill everyone. He massacred many people with their children. The story continues, but the moral of the story is that this child, or this young boy, he grew very close to the court of Allah, in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that, he began to face problems. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began to help him in these problems. And that's the story of life. That you will face, you will basically become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you face a trial, an obstacle. And the crucial thing is that you're going to have to beat the obstacle by support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will have to depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will carry you through the obstacle. He put you in the obstacle, He'll get you out of the obstacle. He makes you ill, He'll take the illness away from you. He gives you life. He is the ultimate. If you ever fall into a problem in the dunya, you ever face such a difficulty in life, inna Allah ma'a sabirin, stay focused on the point that, look, this is a test. We forget that this is a test. We forget that it's a test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to observe patience when the time comes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us, guide us through these moments of difficulty. Ameen bijahi nabiyil amin. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Meadows of the righteous, 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 meadows of the righteous.